Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Isabel Wolke. I'm an adjunct professor here at Bowling Green State University, where I have the absolute privilege of teaching painting and drawing. I have been exploring the intersections of art, emotion, and horror. And today, I'm going to be talking about the topic that resonates deeply with all of us, fear. Let me go ahead and ask all of you a question. What do you fear? Go ahead and take a moment to think about it. Is it something like spiders, snakes, or heights? Or does it go beyond that? Is it death, loneliness, or the unknown? There is no specific form of fear. It varies from person to person. However, fear is something that everyone on this earth experiences. We all have had a moment when our hearts are racing, our stomachs are churning, and our palms are clammy. For instance, me right now. According to Professor Amy Wachholz, the Clinical Health Psychology Program Director at Colorado University, Denver, fear is an adaptive response to things that endanger the body or the mind. It's a complex biomechanical process involving adrenaline and several other areas of the brain. What we fear often says something about the world that we live in. The horror genre exploits human fears in film, literature, and beyond to create entertainment. It makes a safe way for us to experience our anxieties. Horror isn't just a genre of fear, it's also a mirror for society and a tool for expression. Before we go any further, I feel it's necessary to define what I mean by horror. For me, horror is an emotional experience, that visceral reaction that we experience when something shocks or disgusts us. Horror doesn't just startle us, it forces us to confront the things we might rather avoid, our anxieties. The horror genre takes those intense emotions and transforms them into a form of entertainment, creating an opportunity for us to experience cathartic release. We can feel fear without any real danger by experiencing horror in a controlled setting, whether that's through film, novels, or art. You can release the tension and explore anxiety safely. The horror genre is anything but modern. Artists have grappled with the grotesque for centuries, using their art to reflect on the moral questions existing at their time. One of the most iconic historical examples of horror is The Garden of Earthly Delights by the Dutch painter Hieronymus Bosch. His triptych oil painting, created sometime in the early 16th century, is a smorgasbord of symbolism and imaginative horror. The left panel of the triptych depicts the Garden of Eden, featuring God introducing Eve to Adam. Meanwhile, in the center panel, there's a heavy amount of surreal imagery of nude bodies and human indulgence. But the right panel, Bosch's haunting depiction of hell, is where the true essence of horror is explored. The landscape is a nightmare, with fire and war everywhere. Mutated animals feed on the corpses of the damned souls confined to hell due to their human sin and divine punishment. Bosch uses unsettling imagery to provoke an intense emotional reaction from the viewer, which is precisely how we associate with the horror genre today. Through works like this, we can see how horror is used to entertain, question, and reflect. We are forced to face our fears and reconsider what it means to be humans. Artwork like Bosch's explores morality and death, which demonstrates how horror has always been present and is more than just a means to provide entertainment. It is a genre that invites us to confront our fears on a personal and societal level. This quality of horror can potentially elevate contemporary art. If more artists were to embrace the horror genre in their practice and fully engage with its endless potential, their work could become even more authentic and impactful. Horror pushes the boundaries and demands vulnerability, both from the artist and the audience. It invites raw honesty that their viewers can relate to, which makes the work unforgettable. Art has always been a space where marginalized people can have their voices heard, and where taboo topics such as oppression, trauma, and mortality can be explored sensitively. Art helps us process complex emotions and helps us understand what might not be possible in any other context. By accepting horror, artists can craft work that engages, challenges, provokes, and ultimately transforms how we perceive and process the world around us. Mangaka Junji Ito is revered in the world of horror, creating manga that has both film and anime adaptations. He originally was a dental hygienist before becoming a full-time manga artist, which I'm sure gave him plenty of material to work with. Ito's manga usually revolves around the distinct horror genres of body horror and cosmic horror. Body horror is when the human body is displayed grotesquely and disturbingly. Usually this involves some kind of mutilation, disease, decay, or other unnatural occurrences. Cosmic horror, on the other hand, is hard to define. It's about exploring the fear of the unknown and how humans are almost insignificant. It's a rather brutal genre, but it's a very important one. Ito explicitly explores his concept in his work to talk about his own fears that he has as an artist. These fears include war, insects, death, and the sensation of being watched. Most of the characters in his stories are viciously punished, despite just being common people going every day about their lives. Junji Ito has explained in many interviews that he believes the reason people read horror is because our future is uncertain, that we don't know what's waiting for us in the future, and because of that, we suffer a lot of anxiety. So by reading horror, we can prepare ourselves for possible future horrors that we may encounter. Junji Ito's work challenges our perception of what horror can be, using manga, which was originally a form of cartoon, and transforming it into a medium that can help us tackle anxiety and the fear of the future. On the other hand, contemporary artist Doreen Gardner exemplifies creating a space where horror can confront the audience. Her art not only invokes horror, but also weaponizes it. Her work forces viewers to confront the brutal history that has shaped our present. One of her exhibitions, in partnership with artist Kenya Robinson, White Man on a Pedestal, presents the viewers with large masses of flesh-like silicone casts of women of color, all pierced with pins and adored with jewels and beads. This display is purposely meant to be beautiful and horrifying, which speaks to the dehumanization and commodification of Black bodies. The work's purpose is to have a confrontation with the horrors of medical exploitation, transforming what might be unbearable history into a conversation of reflection. Gardner's use of the grotesque connects to the tradition of horror and art. Her work walks the line of tension between disgust and allure. The viewer becomes uneasy, but is unable to look away from the art. That, I believe, is the duality of horror. It attracts and repels. This is a key part of horror and is precisely why Gardner's work is so impactful. Her artwork also aligns with the horror genre's function of exploring societal fears. Gardner draws attention to the atrocities that were committed by J. Marion Sims, who is often proclaimed as the father of gynecology. Gardner reclaims the narrative for the enslaved women who endured terrible suffering at his hands. Her sculptures and performances expose the violence inflicted on Black bodies, reframing history not as long-ago tragedies, but as ongoing legacies that demand acknowledgement. Through her work, Gardner demonstrates how horror can go beyond entertainment and empowers and inspires change. By exposing the disgusting aspects of history, she transforms the grotesque into a tool for resilience. She shows that horror, in its rawest form, can become a powerful statement for truth and justice. Gardner's work is a primary example of how horror can be a profound and necessary tool for confronting history. Despite this, horror as a genre in all kinds of media is continuously misunderstood and dismissed. In my experience as a practicing artist, horror has been labeled as low art. It's deemed as less severe or as less revolutionary as other genres. Horror continues to be reduced to shock factor, but as we have seen through examples like Bosch and Gardner, along with countless other artists, horror holds our unique ability to reflect our collective fears, allowing us to explore who we are and what as a society we value. As I mentioned, I've experienced the stigma of horror firsthand in my own artwork. I've encountered dismissal of my own creative choices and have had people questioning the validity or seriousness of my work. But I don't let this stop me from creating my work. Horror is important to me. That's why I'm standing in front of you all right now. I am begging you to look beyond the surface of horror and to see its true potential. To me, horror is a means to explore empathy and understanding through my artwork. To my fellow artists who may be out there listening, I challenge you to investigate the horror genre in your own artistic practice. Horror can push boundaries that like no other genre can. We can explore the uncomfortable and the unnerving to create transformative art. I implore all of you, not just the artists out there, to explore the darkest corners of your brain. What scares you? Whether it's personal trauma, societal anxieties, or the unknown, I encourage you to put those ideas into writing, paintings, films, whatever. Turn your fear into art. Horror thrives off of innovation and honesty. By all of you leading into its endless potential, you can create memorable and deeply impactful work. Let horror be your guide to challenging yourself and your audience. If in the future you are to encounter something that makes you feel unsettled, don't ignore it. Embrace it and investigate it. Let horror be your guide towards something raw and powerful. Thank you.